Hello everyone, I'm Grandmaster Denes Boros, and I'm back with the Reti variation that you guys liked so much. Already dealt with the first variations, the main lines of the Reti, but here I'm back with the second variation that is important for the whole concept. Let's take a look. B3. The whole idea is still to put pressure on this G7 pawn, so this bishop on F8 is stuck over there, just like the always bad French bishop. D5, bishop B2, and here we've talked about D takes E4 in a previous video, so if you're interested, do check that one out. But after knight C3, knight F6, queen E2, white gets good play for the pawn, and I believe this provides you good play. But the topic of the day is knight f6, a different move, sort of trying to lure white to close the position, which actually we don't mind. We're actually going to go for e5 and make sure that knight is taken away. And here we're at crossroads. White can go queen g4, play f4, or d4. All three of them are viable. Queen g4 is an interesting move. I would pit this as one of the best one. But if you're interested, you can try out d4, c5, c3 with a more solid system, followed by knight c6, knight d2. And after that, black is a little bit cramped, with white having a little bit of a bigger center, with these bishops being as bad as usually they are in the French. In any case, that's an alternative. But the big move is queen g4, trying to pin this bishop to g7. c5, f4, knight c6, knight f3. So white is trying to retain this stronghold, while black is trying to get his development going. So in this game, Stupak versus Master Vasilis, between these two grandmasters, Stupak played queen c7, but in a previous game between Master Vasilis and his opponent, the opponent went for g6, bishop e2, bishop g7, and here comes white's most important move, and that is knight a3, which might look a little strange. However, it threatens to get the knight to d6 and also threaten another maneuver. So a6, castles, b6, c3, and this is the big idea. White is trying to get the knight to c2 just to support the center. Because with the center, it comes with a bit of responsibility, but if you can hold it together, white is going to get a hefty advantage. Bishop b7, d4 was played, takes, castles, knight c2, rook c8, threatening some cheapos. So white went for bishop d3, not only defending the knight, but setting up some ideas in the future on the king's side. Knight d7, queen h3, and white is clearly better here, as there will be plenty of threats against this king on g8, as white is planning to get this knight to e3, g4, and h6, and there is not much that black can do about it. This is a white advantage. So instead, in this game, instead of g6, black played queen c7, bishop e2, a5. Now, probably a5 was a big mistake, should have played a6, but that would have gone in similar direction as the previous game shown. However, a5 left this hole vacant, which Master Vasilis is going to use skillfully. a4, a good move, you're stopping any kind of advances and prepare this idea of getting the knight to b5. b6, knight a3, the knight is heading towards this juicy square, which will be extra powerful as the queen already has pressure on the g7 pawn. Bishop a6, bishop takes a6, rook a6, knight b5, queen b8, and knight d6 check. This wouldn't be such a great move in normal circumstances, just losing a pawn. However, here, white has just too much pressure on that square. Not to mention that the bishop on b2 is opening up. Bishop takes d6, queen g7, a nice little intermezzo attacking that rook. f8, e takes d6, queen takes d6, castles. And now if you just compare the two positions, you can state that black's pieces are a little bit discoordinated, while all of white's pieces are ready to get on in for the attack. Not to mention that this bishop has opened up and is quite powerful. So no wonder that black goes with the logical d4 move, knight g5, knight e7. And seemingly black is consolidating, but whenever black is trying to close it down in the French, what white has to do is to open it all up. So for that, this rook needs to get on the e file, as this rook is already firing from the starting position on f1. This knight is quite strong, putting pressure on those pawns, while this queen is attacking that square. So here, the big move is f5, breaking it all open, leaving no prisoners. And after knight f5, rook takes f5, e takes f5, rook e1 check. King d8 is forced. There's no way you can block. If you try to block, then you just lose a piece. Instead, king d8 had to be played, but after knight f7 check, that's a royal fork. You've got to give back the rook and the exchange, and white is solidly up a pawn with not much hope for black. Game continued with king c7, d3, just wanting to get the bishop back in the game, because this bishop deserves a better life than being closed off. Rook a8, just getting the rook back, but it's sort of too late for black, too little and too late, because once the bishop shows up on f4, mate is more likely unavoidable. So black played rook f8, but after queen h7, there's another pawn falling, leading to dire consequences. g3, very strong move, preparing this aforementioned bishop f4 idea. Knight f6, queen takes f5, and black is losing pawns by the minute. However, it doesn't really matter, because already black was in a big pickle with these rook e6 ideas coming. Knight d5, queen e6, once up a pawn, white is happy to exchange. A very good choice by the Greek grandmaster. Knight b4, bishop f4, forcing the exchange. Must exchange there. King takes, rook takes, so it's a check. King moves, rook e2, knight d5, bishop d2, just dominating this knight on d5, and now the pawns are going to start roaming like tanks down the board. King c6, king g2, king d6, h4, that pawn is coming, rook g8, h5, and there's no stopping it because this sniper is defending it in the corner. Knight f6, bishop f4 check, king d7, h6, rook g6, king f3. So whenever you see these type of positions, never forget that the king is an active piece in an endgame. So that's why Master Vasilis is bringing his king in. Rook g8, rook h2, getting behind the pawn, rook f8, rook h4, preparing this pawn push, king e6, h7, rook h8, bishop c7. Now he goes cherry picking on the other side as black is preoccupied stopping the h-pawn from queening. Knight d5, bishop b6, quite a nice little tactic. And after knight b6, there's this check which picks up the knight. Rook takes b6, rook h7, king g2, rook e7, rook f6. Obviously, this is easy job for white. However, I'm going to show you so you learn how to win these positions. g7, rook f5 check, king d6, just pushing the king back, rook f2, and just notice that white makes sure that everything's defended. The king is cut off, and he's just going to start pushing the g pawn. Rook g8, rook f4, rook g7, g4, king e5, king g3, and this king shall not pass, even if it wants to, because that rook has a whole barrier stopping that from ever happening. Rook h7, rook f2, rook h1, rook e2 check, king d5, king f4, and here black resigned, seeing that there's no way to touch the g-pawn, which will eventually promote. So I hope that helped you understand how to play against knight f6 early on in the opening, and I hope you will have a great time playing the Reti Gambit with white. So if you have any questions, please leave comments below, and if you enjoyed it, please subscribe. With that, I will see you next time. Take care.